Hi, everybody. We're back. I'm Amy, and we're here to talk about putting some fun back into our dysfunctional lives. I'm a psychotherapist with 35 years of experience, and I've had MS for the past 31 of those years, which is my dysfunction. And I'm here with my friend Buck, so take it away.
Hi, I'm Buck. I have known Amy since seventh grade. We were just reminiscing before we came on air. I have been under psychiatric care since I was in fourth grade with severe OCD, and I have been under a therapist or psychiatric care to this present day, which I am diagnosed with bipolar and high anxiety. So, uh, we like to talk about dysfunctionality and how we deal with it. But first, before we get into that, we're going to talk about our weekly dysfunctional things. Amy, you want to talk about yours?
Yeah, I'm. It's so embarrassing for me. I'm selling some things on eBay. I have a whole bunch of stuff on there, and one of the things was this necklace. It was a little, the brand 1928, like a little cameo necklace. It's a pretty little thing, nothing important, nothing precious metal or anything. And this lady bought it, and I put it into this little baggies that I had, and I set it on a shelf because I was doing some other stuff. And when I went back to find it to like put it with, I printed out the little, you print out their address and, you
Right.
get it all prepared to ship. And I went to go find it and I can't find it anywhere. So I'm like, I know I put it on a shelf. I don't know which one. I dug through those. I literally took everything off of every shelf, looked through everything that I might have put it into, bowls or whatever, anything I had. It's gone. It is gone. So I emailed her and I'm like, I messaged her through the app and I'm like, I can't believe this. I've never done this before. I lost it. I really have no clue where it is. Would you like me to send you something else? I have some other cameos. I have some necklaces. Please let me know. And she goes, you know what? Just keep looking for it. If you find it, please send it. I really like that necklace. I was like, okay. And I looked for it for like a week and I never found it. I have no clue where it is. I don't know if my cat ate it. I don't know. So anyway, but I messaged her and she was so sweet. So, because I refunded her the money and I sent her a different necklace, and she said you really didn't need to do that, and she hasn't. I don't know if she got it or not yet, but I felt so ridiculous and embarrassed. I've never done that before. But fortunately, one of my friends said that she's lost some things that she's selling on eBay too. So I was like, okay, it's not just me. It's
Yeah.
not just my subclinical ADHD brain that can't keep track of things. So anyway, that's my dysfunction. Unfortunately, because other people who would have been nasty, and she was lovely.
Yeah.
I was so appreciative of that.
Yeah.
So,
I always say that because I'll put something, mostly tools. I'll put a tool somewhere and then it's gone, and I know I put it there. And I always say that,
yep,
and then you'll go back later, and it's there,
right.
and you're like, I just looked there. I think that
Yeah,
aliens beam it up to like examine it
that's
and stuff,
it.
and then they
I,
put it
you're
back
absolutely
exactly.
that's it. Where
Yeah,
it was,
yeah,
or
exactly.
they make it invisible to you somehow, or something like that. Yeah,
I don't know.
I've done that. It's crazy. Anyway, yeah, that's probably what happened to it. It's probably going to beam back down pretty soon.
Yeah.
But I told her I'd send it to her if I ever found it, but I don't know. So anyway,
Well,
what was your
mine
yeah?
is so I had an audition, which I did really well. I didn't get
Good.
called back, but I did really well Monday morning. And so I was fine to go. I haven't really been going out that much. I've been really depressed. So I went. It was fine. I did a great audition. I love the person who directs it. Uh, came back, came out of the subway, and I said, I really need to go to the store. So, and I don't want to go out again because it's cold here. So it's like I don't want to go out again. So, and the store is right there. The minute I started going to the store, I had the most incredible anxiety attack. And I don't know why. I was just going to the store. I was just going to
Yeah.
the store. And I went in the store and I was having anxiety in the store. I just wanted to get out, but I had to get it's not one of those shopping trips where you just go row by aisle by aisle.
Right.
It's like I need this over here, this way over here, this. So I was just trying to get out of there. And then all the way home, I was just like, I'm not going to make it. 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 And then I get inside and I'm having the most incredible anxiety and I just literally have to lay on the couch. I just have to lay on the couch and watch TV and just, and my medication has been upped. So this week. So I'm hoping that's going to make a difference, but I have no
Yeah.
idea where that came
It's
from.
called free floating anxiety.
Yeah.
It's free floating. That just means it just suddenly is there and you have no reason why.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called generalized anxiety disorder, because if it was something that you could absolutely say this is what causes anxiety, then it's more like a
Situation.
like a yeah, exactly, or
Yeah.
something like that.
But there was
But
nothing.
that's
And
generalized.
I was fine. I was fine going to the
And then
audition.
boom,
And
yeah.
I was fine during the audition. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't, but then I don't know. Maybe because I was focused for the audition, and then afterwards I wasn't focused, that I knew I had to get some stuff. Like I had to get some cat food. I had to get some bread. Like
Right.
it wasn't like a big shopping trip. So anyway,
Right.
that was my. So this
That's
week
crazy.
we're going to talk about. So I read, actually I saw it on MS Now, but there was an article from The Guardian where the author was talking about, the author of the news article was talking about a new term called political depression, and that people, like, the current political scene is very chaotic. It's very chaotic, and the
And split.
messaging should be very uplifting, but it's
Right.
not. It's actually playing to the deepest depression of people. So it's
Right.
actually very depressing, and because there is such chaos, so people are getting actually depressed because of
Mhm.
the messaging, not necessarily the
Right.
news, but the messaging. And so
Right.
I thought that was an interesting topic for us to. And
Yeah.
you said that you've had clients that are experiencing
Yeah,
this.
I had at least one, and or like recently, this lady said the only thing that's really bothering me right now is that the climate of the political climate is so scary, and I'm just terrified, and I just don't even want to turn on the television. I don't want to see people because they might say something to me, and we just also just had our primaries here uh, for the governor and senators, and
Ah,
and so so there's just been I don't my phone was going off like several times an hour, and I would look down and it was always spam. And when I would answer it, and I always go, okay, if it takes you more than 2 seconds to answer, then I'm hanging up.
right,
And even if you get somebody that sounds like a person, it's not.
right,
They're not real people. Um, so I answered a few times, and the political stuff and people going, oh, you have to vote for this, whatever, it just is overwhelming.
yeah,
And so for people who already are struggling with depression or anxiety, to have all these messages coming at you, and it used to be like that people would have on their ads, they would talk about the things that they were going to accomplish,
right,
like they would say, what I'm planning to do, and this is what you can expect. And now it's just all like, vote for me because the other person sucks.
right,
That's all it is. They're all attack ads,
right.
and it's very, and that creates a lot of like, um, just discomfort and depression and anxiety to just, and who do you vote for? This person says this person did that, but this person said this person did that, and it's just very hard to know unless you really research it all.
Well, I think also, the us and them. So
Yes,
I think the
the
ads that,
division.
or the attacks that, now it's not just, ads on TV. It's
Right,
ads on the internet.
on your
It's
phone.
ads. It's Twitter. It's all of the, so people attacking. So the us and them also deals, is
Right,
in the playing field of religion. I'm a better
right,
Christian than you.
right.
I support Israel, so I'm a better Christian. It's just like, you know, uh, for me, what does Israel have to do with the United States? What do they have to do
Yeah,
with the United States? So this is the USA. This is not Israel. So uh, why why do we have to support them? They have enough money
Right.
themselves. They have enough power themselves. They have enough weapons. So them for them to have this, pack called APAC that, is supporting
Supports
US candidates with Israeli money is so
I
that they
was
will
it's
lobby
like
for
big
Israel.
illegal. Yeah.
Right. So I think that with the foreign lobbying, you know, and these
Yeah.
Christian
Well,
groups lobbying,
yeah.
for giving money to candidates so they'll
Right.
support them, I think is
That's the
way out of
that's the
line.
Christian nationalists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes
There's the faction of people that are Christian nationalists, which are the people who believe that Christianity should be the official religion of the United States.
right.
And like when you ask them or talk to them about it, they'll say, "Oh, well, people can have other religions. Just Christianity would be the religion that is
Predominant.
sponsored, or
Yeah.
which basically means that Christians would be the right kind of Christians would be the would have a preferential status,
Right.
and that's not
Right.
theocracy. This is not, we do not want a theocracy, and that's what that is.
Right.
And that's why there are people who are trying to get other people from Israel or wherever to buy in, because they think if we're a Christian nation that somehow Jesus is going to come back,
Yeah.
which is not so. Yeah, I'm sorry if I don't want to offend people, but I think that's nuts.
Yeah. It is.
So,
It is.
my dad's a minister. My dad's dad was a minister. My mom's dad was a minister. I have nine great or 8 great uncles who are ministers, or 7 great uncles who are ministers, and 1 great uncle who's a psychiatrist, because he always said somebody had to take care of all those crazy ministers in this family. So I've stolen that line about teachers myself. But anyway, so but I can firmly say that I am a Christian, and I also can firmly say that I do not think that we need to be a Christian nation,
Right.
and that it's not okay, and that that's not going to make the second coming or whatever it is, the rapture, whatever that isn't biblical, by the
Yeah.
way. You know, like, so it just makes me. That's what makes me crazy,
Right.
and that's part of it too. Is that makes the divide even greater between us versus them, and because they have this agenda,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and the MAGA have an agenda.
Yeah.
So it's all these factions and all these divisions, and it's just so hard to like be friendly with people sometimes when they get off onto those
Yeah.
tangents.
And
So
they're always spouting Bible verses, but when James Talarico from Texas is really
yeah,
talking about Christianity, like helping the poor,
the things that
feeding the
Jesus said to
poor,
do.
clothing the poor, healing the sick,
Yep.
he gets
Like
he gets
welcoming your enemy, welcoming the other.
he gets
Yeah.
attacked for not being a Christian, not being a
Yeah.
true Christian. And he's like, his
It's just
response is,
crazy.
I'm just telling what the
Yeah.
Bible says in Matthew. I'm
Right.
just saying what the Bible says. And he said, they're all
Absolutely.
about prosperity, having these mega
Right.
churches and, not
That's not
giving to the
that
poor, not helping the poor at all. They've
right.
got their big
Yeah.
jets and I think people, going back to what our topic is, I think
Yeah.
people just give up. Like,
Right.
so many people have such, more than ever, have such great power. And
Right.
most people, 98%, do not. So they just
Right.
throw up their hands
Or
and give up, you know? And
right. Because you don't know
the-
what to do. You don't
yeah,
know how to proceed, or how you can make an impact.
right.
You know,
And then
you don't
Trump,
have if you don't have $1 million to donate.
yeah. And,
Yeah.
people like Bernie Sanders and a couple of other people keep, now there's really kind of a backlash against APAC. Other
Yeah.
politicians are calling other politicians out for accepting APAC, to the point where
Yeah.
one of them actually returned the money to APAC
Good.
and announced
Good.
that he no longer is funded by APAC. So APAC has
Yeah.
changed their names to several
Yeah.
different names, but those are being called out too, you know.
Yeah.
And you have people like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz saying Israel first. I don't get that. You're a
I
United
don't.
States senator. Why are you, it doesn't make any sense. But
That, no.
people
No.
throw up their hands,
Very frustrating. Yeah.
and if the
Yeah.
voting thing gets in November, gets taken over by Trump, what are people going to do? I mean, they're going to have to not just protest,
No,
you have to actually
the,
storm.
the one thing about that makes me say I'm not sure he could do that is that that's when the governors are elected,
Yeah,
and I don't think he's going to say a you can't have an election for your governors, which means that he's not going to be able to say you can't have an election for your senators. I think, but I don't. I mean, who knows? The mind of a crazy man is hard
yeah,
to understand and realize what's going to happen.
yeah,
But I'm skeptical that he's going to be able to stop the elections, and I think the Republicans will even kind of balk at that,
yeah,
like at least the ones that are sane, are the ones that have some reasonable
yeah,
ideas about. So I'm not as like, oh no, we're not going to. But I understand like people being very afraid because all the norms are gone, and
right,
that's part of the big problem of why it's so hard to like wrap your head around what's going on. Is number one, there's way too much information coming in. That's why all of this, they have all these things that are distractions from what's actually happening or what we need to focus on. Your mind can only take in so much information before it's like, that's, I can't think.
right,
And it's hard to just focus on one thing because then another weird thing is happening over here and then some. It's very hard to stay
yeah,
focused. And so uh, that's part of the problem too, is that there's too much information coming in. There's too many distractions. There's no norms. There's no sense of uh, like just established law,
right,
even.
right. And,
That's part of the problem
and there's
in the
no
States.
sense of decorum.
No,
You
mm-mm.
know,
No,
we talked about earlier, before we went on, that you know, the country is divided, and it was divided all the way back to like George
yeah,
Bush. You know,
yeah,
I mean, there were people that were outraged that that he won, first of all, you
yeah,
know, because of some Chad thing in Florida, and people were very upset by that. And then he got us into the war, and it kind of started there, but this
yeah,
is like a level that people actually hate each other. People actually
yeah,
committing violence against each other. I mean,
yeah. And
people are targeting each other. People are like
yeah,
Marjorie Taylor Greene. She got death threats against her son for speaking out.
it's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she got death threats against her son. Nancy Pelosi's husband was beaten
yeah,
with a hammer.
yeah.
I mean, it's
So it's crazy. People are willing to go and do violent
yeah,
things, or even thinking of QAnon crap and Pizzagate and
yeah,
the kid who shot up the Cosmic Pizza place, and because he thought that QAnon said that there was that Hillary Clinton was drinking children's blood and they were in the basement. I
yeah,
mean, just nutty things, and that people are believing
yeah.
and buying into.
Well,
I know from experience because I have an aunt who got crazy into it,
oh,
and my dad was like, it was his brother's wife, but uh, hopefully she's not watching this, but she got really into QAnon, and my dad was like, so you believe that we as Democrats are drinking blood and we turn into aliens at night? And she was like, no, no, no. But and that wasn't, the thing was you could buy into QAnon as like the space alien people, or there was the QAnon part that was about saving the children from the predators and the sexual pedophiles that are running the country, and that kind of stuff. And it was just such a crazy culty
yeah,
moment, and then it's still culty, and then Trump's a cult, so
yeah. Well, but
that's
now we
that's
know
part of
who
the problem,
the
too.
now we know who the child sexual predators are. You
Yeah,
know,
well, we've always known, but
now
yeah, now it's even
now they
more
really are in
apparent.
control. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think
true,
uh, I think you're right about the overload of information. I think
absolutely.
there's an overload of seeing fighting between two
Hmm.
factions. I think there's now an overload because of the Iranian war that was just
Right.
Trump felt it in his bones, and that
Yeah.
guy, Kent,
That's a
what's
good
his
reason to
name,
go to war.
came out and said there was no imminent threat, who was the head of
Right.
counterintelligence, counterintelligence. Um, and he's been making the rounds now. So now they're going to
Right.
investigate him. Now they're going to but he's been making the podcast rounds. So he's saying
Yeah.
there was no imminent threat.
Nothing. There was nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
And then,
No. Well, because that's a distraction. That
yeah,
was Trump decided he wanted to be. I mean, to me, this is what it is, and this is all from just what I think, and that is that Trump wanted to show that he's the strongest and he can do whatever he wants, and I want your oil, and so I'm going to do what I need to do to take it, and I'm going to tell people that it's because you're threatening us, even though there never was, and I
right.
agree with that. I think that's probably true, and I'm not educated enough about that, or don't have an inside track, obviously, but that just is what makes total sense to me, because
Yeah.
that's what happens with him.
Yeah.
That's what he does, and it's a way to distract from the Epstein files and all the other stuff
Right.
that's going on.
And,
The stuff that's
the deal that Obama made with Iran, they had a really small amount of enriched uranium, really small.
right.
Under Trump, they have like a million times more,
Yeah.
more, because he tore up that agreement, which
Right.
stopped inspectors. It stopped inspectors from going in. It
Yep.
allowed them to do whatever they want because they had no agreement they had to adhere to. So he created this whole thing. And the other day was amazing, which makes people scared.
Yeah.
When
Absolutely.
somebody appears to not know what they're doing, and they
Right.
are the commander in chief
Yeah.
of the most powerful, I don't even know if that's true, the most
Not
powerful
anymore.
military.
Yeah, I
I
don't think
think
anymore.
China's the most, but and he's in charge, and then he says stuff like yesterday. He said, I had no idea that Iran would attack neighboring countries. I was shocked. And I was like, there are Air Force and Army and naval bases in the surrounding countries. You didn't think they would attack them? So I think people get very frightened when the
Yeah.
person in
Well,
charge
I'm scared all the time because
is a
he's
madman.
he's a madman. Yeah. And when he said, unless this was a long time ago, it was the smallest thing, but this was a very early clue, is he said, nobody knew how complicated health insurance was. And I was like, nope, everybody knew except you. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's complicated.
Yeah.
And yeah. And like, so, but I'm the only one who can fix it. And then, but you know nothing about any of this
Right.
stuff.
And he still
And
hasn't
it's
fixed it.
just
They still haven't
he
fixed
hasn't fixed it. It's a mess. It's horrible. My husband just turned 65, thank goodness, because he got onto Medicare, because his insurance went up from, it was never cheap. I mean, he was paying like, $600 or $700 a month for his insurance. It was going to go up to $1,700 a month, which is more than our mortgage ever was.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that people are having to pay that much,
Yeah.
and because he didn't put any brakes on it, he didn't. There was none of that stuff. So thank goodness he's on Medicare now, and he can. It's
Yeah.
much less expensive, and otherwise, like, we're not going to go broke paying for that insurance, but it certainly would have put a damper on our ability to do anything else for a long time.
No, I know.
So
I know.
it's
And
not.
the whole thing with the first shutdown was that they were going to take away the subsidy for Obamacare, and they were like,
Right.
no, 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 we'll fix it. We'll fix it. They haven't fixed it. What is it?
Never
It's
did.
March
It's not fixed at all.
19th. There's no proposal.
Nothing.
There's no proposal.
Nothing.
They haven't worked on anything. They don't
Nope.
care about it.
They're do nothing Congress.
Yeah.
That's
But
absolutely true.
they I thought the Democrats should have held out before healthcare. I
Yeah.
thought they should have held out.
But they didn't. What they didn't want was to have people not get their benefits. Or, I mean, when I worked in social services, a shutdown like this meant that we weren't going to be able to provide services because we weren't going to get paid to do it.
Right.
We can't run not for profit if there's a government shutdown and there's no money coming in. That's how not for profits work, you
Yeah.
know. So I mean, there's other ways you get donations and things like that from people, but basically, like your money comes from your grants and your government contracts.
Yeah.
And if they shut down the government, then no services get out either.
Yeah.
So you don't get, and people don't get their you know their aid to they don't get their assistance.
Right.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who need assistance. So
Yeah, I know.
which
But
in the richest country in the world,
they've
it's
cut
terrible.
that too.
Yeah,
Pay for this
yeah,
war.
absolutely.
To pay for this
Yeah,
war that was totally
right.
unnecessary.
It's unnecessary.
Totally
Yeah,
unnecessary. And just
yeah.
brings
Well,
people in the US and around the world stress. All it does is stress
right,
people out because he doesn't know what
right.
he's doing. And
No,
all he and Israel are doing is killing people. You know,
right,
Israel wants Lebanon. It's that simple. They want it. So they're
right,
going
right.
in. They've killed 1,000 people there, or 850 people. They've displaced 1 million people. They're blowing up residences.
Yeah,
Residential
and girls'
buildings.
school.
They're blowing them up. They've already done the worst thing, genocide to
So much
Gaza.
damage.
And people now,
Yeah.
especially Jews, are fighting back, and they're saying,
Oh,
there's a difference between Judaism and Zionism. And
right.
it for me, it gives me a little bit of hope that Jews, especially Orthodox and Hasidic, are really fighting back against Israel.
Yeah.
And saying this is
Good.
not what we do. And the thing is, Israel is bombing. They killed a Catholic priest. They killed a Catholic priest who was the leader of this town, and they killed him.
Yeah.
Never apologized. Never. And they bombed churches. They bombed churches, Christian churches. Yet these Christian nationalists still support them. So this whole crazy
because if
this whole crazy
there's just so many different. Pardon? What did you say? I missed it.
The whole craziness.
It's just crazy.
That if Israel is saved or whatever, allowed to expand, they can build the third temple, or I don't know what it is, that Christ will come again. The only reason Christ is going to come again is to blow up.
Tell you that you're.
Yeah. It's to blow up Israel.
Yeah, exactly.
To stop Israel.
Well, my dad used to say, and this is the truth, is that really basically Jesus said 3 things. He said, love God. He said, love yourself. And he said, love other people as yourself. That's it. That's what he said. And that's not what's happening. We're not people. They have this idea of this prosperity gospel, which is like, if you put out there that you want this money, you'll get this money, like some magical thinking way.
Yeah.
Without thinking, no, the way that it's not good karma.
Right.
That's just like, people have this magical weird thinking about it, and they've totally lost the message, which is take care of people.
Right.
That's it. You take care of people. You take care of yourself, and you take care of your family. They have this idea that in order to be a good Christian, you don't take anything from anybody else. You take care of yourself and your family, and you keep as much as you can for yourself, because that way you will never have to ask anybody for anything else. So anybody that asks somebody else to help them is taking from you, and that's not Christian. That's stealing or whatever. And it's like, no, that's not what Jesus said, and that's not how it should work.
Right.
So I never understand that. I never. And Jesus said, it'd be easier for for a rich person. It'd be easier for a camel to go through an eye of the needle than it would be for a rich man to go to heaven.
Right. Right.
And and not because it's a sin to be rich. It's not. It's not. None of that. It's that rich people have to understand that they've been given much, and it's sort of like Spider-Man saying, to those who have much power, the expectation is that you're going to give, you're going to give of yourself or whatever. Or that's not a quote, but you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And same thing, when you have a lot, Well, generally, it's not. I mean, sometimes you're self-made. There are self-made people. That's absolutely true. But but you can't get there mostly without some kind of help. You know,
Right.
even like good education is a benefit. So if you live in the ghetto and you don't have a decent school around you and you're not getting a good education, then that's not your fault.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
these
I know.
crazy people who just think like you should pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but we're not going to give you any shoes at all.
Yeah.
Even
Meanwhile,
you don't get boots. You don't.
they give tithes to churches,
Yeah, yeah.
and the church gives nothing to charity.
The mega
Gives
church.
nothing. All right.
Oh no, they keep it.
Yeah.
Good to the mega churches. Anyway, so we're yeah. So we're trying not to fall for it and not to fall into the depression. I'm trying to stay
Yeah.
positive,
Yeah, me too. But
hard,
it
but I'm
does get to you after a while. So that's
yeah.
our
It surely
topic
does.
for this week. We'll be back next week. I'm
Yeah.
Buck.
And I'm Amy, and we'll put some fun in our dysfunctional lives.